Hello, and we're here at the Cat and Sam show where we're going to kind of have a royal treatment today.
Yes,
What's going on over there, Sam?
Well, it's coronation weekend this weekend, King Charles, which is, and there's been some really interesting stuff going on and being talked about and everything. But one of the things that came out this last week, and to me, it doesn't matter whether you're a monarchist or not. But it came out about this thing about the public swearing allegiance to the king and his successors all at once in order to make it a people's coronation. Now, normally, apparently, like before, so what would happen? It'd be all the dukes, all the, high-ranking noble families would swear their fealty and allegiance. They'd line up in all of their robes and kiss the monarch's hand, and they'd, pledge their allegiance. And it's kind of not necessarily hit the right note. And it just really reminded me, it just made me think about, and I'm not saying King Charles is an abuser at all in any way, but that sense of entitlement and that completely getting it wrong. We are citizens, we're not subjects. This is the 21st century. And this idea that they're sort of gobsmacked. It's been, the Archbishop now has backtracked a little bit and said, it's an invitation, it's not a necessity. But they've completely missed the point that, we're not in those times anymore where we're going to swear our loyalty to somebody who was just born into a by birth. And it just really, I thought it just really showed the disconnect. And it's the same kind of, why would that not be something that you'd all love to do? And that's really reminded me of a bit of a way that abusers can behave. Why aren't you grateful to me? Why are you pushing back against something that's, you should be honoured to do this. You should be, grateful. You should be gagging to swear your allegiance to me and be my subject. And there's somebody was absolutely brilliant. She's a fantastic journalist over here. She writes for the Observer and the Guardian, and she just put out a tweet, and it was her that said, "I am a citizen, not a subject." And actually, some people have been saying, and this is that he should be swearing his allegiance to us, which is a really interesting idea as well. And then there was lots of conversations about use of the word highness, your highness. So that whole hierarchy thing. And you just sort of think, well, you can see where a lot of beliefs that some people are given, that then they are, if their personality leads them that way or whatever, just like the king, they think they have a God-given right, that they are the anointed ones, that they are the best thing since sliced bread, that they're more special than anybody else. And I just thought it was really interesting, especially the kind of the surprise that this wasn't taken with open arms by everybody, which it absolutely hasn't.
Well, a few things came up while you were talking about all that, and that I think one thing that here in the States would be good for us to understand is what the definition of a monarchist is. A person a monarchist. So is that somebody who like follows the monarchy and is
that's somebody who believes that the monarchy is a good thing, that they are, so, you know, our monarchy, they're born into it. It seems the divine right of kings. It comes from, you know, it comes from feudal times where you'd have, you know, the kings, dukes, knights, nobility who had the right, is it primogeniture? You know, a girl getting married, you know, a young woman or whatever getting married, he would be entitled to take her virginity as her overlord, as their overlord. And, you know, the husband would just have to put up with it, sort of thing. So a monarchist is somebody who believes that, who supports the monarchy, who thinks we should keep a king and queen. There's lots of arguments about whether they should or shouldn't stay, and about us, you know, and Britain, the UK becoming a republic. So I think an awful lot of people were very supportive of the Queen, but less so of the monarchy. And now King Charles has come to the throne. There's been a lot more questioning of, is this something that we want going forwards? You know, it does cost a lot of money. The taxpayers pay, you know, like we'll be paying for the coronation. It's like £100 million, and that's a slimmed down one. But what was interesting was that the changes that he's made, that King Charles has made, or, you know, the firm has made, the monarchy, they call it the firm, has made to this particular coronation, is like the fact that the dukes are no longer swearing fealty. The oldest noble families aren't being invited to the coronation. So it's almost like they seem to have been able to upset people on both sides. But, you know, it was about the fact that it was assumed that this is something that we as human beings, as a public in this 21st century, would somehow, that is what would make it personal to us. Swearing fealty to somebody who just happened to have been born into a family who believe they have the God-given right to rule over us. So it's like, it's that aspect that's just kind of like, hang on a minute, you know.
Well, you know, it's the objectation of a group of people. These are my subjects. And
very succinctly put. I've waffled on for about 5 minutes, but yes.
Well, it's okay. It's, you know, I just think that, I mean, I can definitely see why, you know, what you're saying and the reasoning behind what you're saying. You know, I think for me personally, I look at it as it's a tradition. It's historical. It's a tradition.
Yeah, but this has never been done. The whole point is the public haven't been asked to do this. Normally it's the dukes. So right. it's this, oh, you know, we're going to change things and it's going to be new. This is a new thing that was supposed to be about modernising.
And it sounds like a step back because yes, I can see the reason. Right.
You know, I'm probably a little sensitive to it, I have to say. You know, there you go. There might be a little bit of a trigger, but I'm not the only one. You know, there's lots of people who are going, how could you have got that so wrong, when we've got people who, they're having to choose between eating and heating, and have done all winter. We're in a financial crisis, and our cost of living is through the roof. We've got people making profits, like oil companies making record quarterly profits again of sort of like 8, 9, 10 billion. This is going to cost us 100 million, and then you think as a gift to us to then say that we will swear fealty not only to you but your heirs and successors as a treat, as to make it our event. And I just think you couldn't have read it more wrong.
Well, I'm listening to you, and I'm giggling a little bit, because I'm thinking, we've talked about systems and how they mimic these relationships. And this is just another mimic of the relationship. And, it's like going to the police and saying, this is what's happened. And they look at a situation and they don't have enough information to be able to make a decision that is fair on both sides, because they come in with their own biases from their own. And it's kind of that same, and I think that's one of the things that you do really, really well, is to say, okay, well, what's the solution? Don't call us subjects.
No.
We are citizens.
I'm sure they've got a lot of people being paid a lot of money to for PR. I'm sure somebody and why didn't anybody say this is like maybe not the right way to go? What's interesting, what I thought was really interesting, was the person who turned and said actually he should be swearing allegiance to us, because the Queen very much saw the job as that she was, and this is what's really interesting as well. So she was very much, and from the moment she took the throne and all the way through, there was a very big thing about it was her duty to serve us as High Public. This has flipped that on its head completely, and it's I just find it all really interesting. But it feeds into. I had a lady that I was speaking to today, and she was talking about when she reported, and this idea. They said, well, you were with him for years and years and years, so it can't have been that bad. Or, why didn't So the fact that she was there for a length of time, that it's actually taken her that long to get out. So it's the flip side of the same coin, but it's about how you view it.
It is. One thing that came to mind. Do you have something else you wanted to finish with?
No.
So one thing that came to mind when you were talking about that kind of made me laugh is this whole thought process of women submitting to men in the Christian faith, but not talk about Christ and how he washed the feet of men and said that you need to be doing this to your wife. Oh no, we don't talk about that scripture, which is kind of funny when you think about what you're saying with the Queen saying, I'm here to serve you. And now her son's like, well, now you guys are all my subjects, and we need to all be together, and you need to come on to my team.
Yeah. It's fascinating. It's fascinating how, like I say, whether you're a monarchist or a Republican, it doesn't really matter. It's about seeing these resonances from the very top throughout society, where there are assumptions, where there's arrogance, where there's a complete entitlement and a complete lack of understanding of the impact of what you're saying. And a real kind of like shock that it's not taken in some as some wonderful gift. You know, why would it be? Why would it be? If he turned around, actually, if he had, for me personally, if he had turned around, which is a bit like an abuser acknowledging what they've done, if he turned around and said, whatever's gone before, I don't want anybody to swear fealty to me or swear my allegiance. I'm going to swear my allegiance to you as your monarch, as your king, as your head of state, as your head of the Church of England.
As the care of your people.
As the carer of your people.
And even that's
respect
like,
to the man,
no.
You know?
Right,
but he's
right, exactly.
Again, it's in the Bible. He's the head of the Church of England, you know? It's... And I do sometimes wonder what century we're living in. That this still, to this day, you know, we may as well be back at that time when, you know, the rule of thumb was you could hit your wife, you know, you were fine hitting your wife with a stick as long as it was no bigger than the width of your thumb. And there's a bit of that, and you just think, sometimes you just think, how are we going to change this? How are we going to stop domestic abuse across the board that happens to anybody? It's perpetrated by anybody. When there's such a disconnect between reality and what a certain types of people have in their heads about what is appropriate, and it is that entitlement. That entitlement is massive. It runs, whether it's Andrew Tate, whether it's whoever, you know, it's about entitlement, and it's terrifying. And
well, I think the thing that I'm catching on to, or that I'm feeling, is that how can we expect society to change as societies change if the systems that we have out there aren't willing to change? And it's not about like, you and I are like, we know that we don't know everything. We just sit there and we try to think about things that come our way and go, well, that's kind of weird, or what's that about, and try to decipher what it is. You know, and giving grace to other people and care for other people. At the same time, when you're seeing from your leadership or from your church or from the corporation that you work with, any of these systems that are mirroring what domestic violence is, domestic abuse is, coercive control is, we need some looking at that.
And we need leadership on board. And actually, in theory, you can get no higher in this country than the king of the country. So, you know, if leadership are not getting it, and leadership across the board, police, judges, like you say, businesses, everybody, if leadership aren't on board, we're on a hide into nothing. And that's part of my next trajectory, is cracking that nut, because you're absolutely right. You said it again very succinctly, you know. You're absolutely right.
I don't think that we can change it unless people have an understanding of it. You and I talk about that all the time. You know, something comes up and you're like, I never thought about it that way. How these systems work, because these systems are complicated. They're not easy for somebody to go, oh, okay, yeah, I got it all. I
No.
read the 10-point. I understand it completely now. It isn't until you get that aha moment where you go, oh, and I think you're right. I mean, language is so much a part of it, using the word subject instead of citizen, using the word join me instead of I'll join you or I'll care for you. One is very self. Yeah,
you chat. I'm gonna say.
Well, think about this.
So I swear.
Okay.
That I will pay true allegiance to your majesty and to your heirs and successors according to the law, so help me God. So that involves the law, that involves religion, and that involves literally the powers that be and the us as a people. But it's the fact that, and I'll say it again, it's the fact that somehow made it inclusive for us as a people. No, you just don't get that. Actually, if you want us to feel inclusive, you come to the table, you turn around, you yeah.
So what was his call to his people? Like, I mean, he'll do a speech, I'm assuming, after the coronation.
Well, this is with the fanfare. So there's a particular part during the coronation. They've introduced this moment where the Archbishop will invite everybody to swear their allegiance, and as a whole country was like for us to do it all together, and then there'll be a big fanfare, and then they'll get on with the rest of the ceremony. But it's like,
so my question
we're swearing an oath in law, according to this.
So where is his commitment to the people?
By being king.
Oh,
I don't know.
Because it would be interesting to see if there's something in his coronation where he's swearing to
allegiance to us. Yeah, I don't know, actually. I don't know about that.
And how that is worded.
Yeah.
Some of it, I mean, I look at it, and of course, I didn't grow up in the pomp and stance of it. We have our presidents that, we vote in, but we don't have that kind of thought process. And we've had some presidents that do have that kind of thought processes, but that's a whole different story. I'm not going to get into the political stuff of it. So I can't talk about how it is to grow up with somebody like that, but I can see, what you're talking about. And there is these leaderships that you can't get into to have conversations with them about how to address things differently.
Yeah. And
it is entitlement because
just to get off their high horses a little bit, but bringing it back to bringing it back to that abuse dynamic. It's that, you'll be grateful. It's the gift of
it has a sense
they give you.
It has a sense of love bombing for sure.
And the gift that they give you, you will be grateful for, whether that's a gift you want or not. And actually, who does it benefit? It benefits them and not you.
Right.
So, yeah, there were just tinges of it. So I thought it'd be fun to talk about. And you're right, it's systemic, and that's what needs to change.
Well, I don't know. I definitely think that I'm my own queen.
I was just go. You took the words out of my mouth. You are my queen, my darling. And on that note, I might
definitely
actually go.
not a princess. I don't want to throw myself on the ground and kick and scream. I am definitely a queen. I'm going to run my monarch.
Absolutely.
But, I think that's just, I wouldn't want to take anything from somebody who wants to be king either. But
no.
I certainly wouldn't call my children, my people, my subjects.
No.
So it's interesting, the thought processes that are there. And thanks for sharing.
Shall we go and shall we
go ring that bell?
Go ring that bell, fix our own wonky crowns, and I'm going to raise a toast to you, my queen.
You are my queen as well. I think we'll just go about our...
We'll leave it there.
Yeah. Queen
That'll
for the day.
do for me.
Right, we'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye, sweetie.